One.
Good evening to everyone. On behalf of the organizing team, I would like to extend my heartiest welcome to the chairperson, Mizoram State Commission for Women, P. Lalnunsiama, who has agreed to grace this occasion to extend a greeting on behalf of the organizing team and on behalf of the State Commission for Women. And she also would like to share, a couple of things, to us. So we have invited her as a chief guest of this, very program. Then I also extend my warmest welcome to B. Sankhumi, who is a Padma Shri awardee who had received this Padma Shri in the last round from Mizoram, state of Mizoram. So we are very proud of her, and I extend my heartiest welcome to her, and I also send my heartiest congratulations for this great achievement. Then I also extend my warmest welcome to Mr. T. Lalnunsiama, advocate from Mizoram, and who also has agreed to grace this occasion as a speaker. So I also extend my warmest welcome to my, friends out from outside, the state of Mizoram and from inside of Mizoram, and the faculty in Mizoram University and my colleagues in the different colleges, then research scholars and students, and ladies and gentlemen, it is my proud privilege to extend my warm welcome to every one of you to this very occasion. So this program has been organized by the UGC-Women Study Center, Mizoram University, and the Department of Public Administration, Govt Aizawl West College, based in Aizawl. So the organizing team, I'm as co-ordinator of this program, honorary director, Mizoram UGC Women Study Center, Mizoram University. I am Lalnunsiama, and a professor in the Department of Public Administration. In that capacity, I am asked by my authority to look after this Women's Study Center. So the organizing secretaries are Dr. Janet Van Lal Limpui, Associate Professor, Department of Public Administration, Govt Aizawl West College, and Mr. Robert Lalchandama, Research Assistant, UGC Women Study Center, Mizoram University. So this evening, the very important topic, that is women and Mizo customary law. So we thought we should talk about the women and customary law, but it would be very vast. And if we do not, make such a specific topic, then it would be very difficult to bring, to the good conclusion, something like that. So that's why we make it as a Mizo customary law. So we could get such a very expert and who has a tremendous contribution to this very topic, that is Mizo customary law, in one way or the other. So we are too grateful to B. Sangkhumi, who has actually made a good contribution towards this, especially customary law, where the not exactly a customary law, for the codification of the Mizo customary law also, she has made a good contribution, of course. And now, because of her personal intervention, and then we could also have, such a special enactment, that is Divorce and Inheritance, Marriage Act and all, that she would be sharing with us, I hope. And then, so in a short notice, I should say that she has agreed to grace this occasion as a guest of honor. So we are actually once again, saying thank you to her once again. Then this Lalnunsiama is also such a great personality in a way who has a great contribution to this society. So we have been together as a member of the Mizoram State Commission for Women in the last constitution of the Women Commission of Mizoram, but he continued as a legal member till now also, Mr. Lalnunsiama. So then I also extend such invitation to a very limited circle. Those who have such a keen interest towards the topic that we are going to discuss this evening. So these are the few things which I can share with you, and then I extend such a warm welcome once again to each and every one of you, and thank you for joining us, and I hope we would be able to discuss at length. Even the participants can also share and will be given a chance to speak on this very platform, I hope. So let me just invite P. Lalnunsiama to give a few words and kind of a welcome and a greetings to the participant, even to our resource person and the guest of honor, and even to the organizing team, something like that. So may I kindly invite P. Lalnunsiama, the Honorable Chairperson of the Mizoram State Commission for Women. Please, P. Lalnunsiama, over to you.
Oh, good evening, everyone. Thank you for inviting me to say a few words this evening. Yes, our topic tonight is very interesting and also very important for Mizoram, especially for the women in Mizoram. Before 2014, when the Mizo marriage, Divorce and Inheritance Act was passed, the women in Mizo, we don't have a good laws. And our situation, the situation of women in Mizoram is, so to say, very low and very negligible. But after the laws has been passed, the condition of the Mizo women is very much improved. And we are now in the commission, the Mizoram State Commission, also use this new act. And many women who are having problem in their marriage come to the commission for help. And we use it till now, and the act is very valuable for the Mizo women. And thank you for giving me a chance to speak. And I wish all the participants to have a good time. And I hope everyone will be very much
Hello, madam.
Hello.
Hello, madam.
Hello.
Oh, you are not audible. Is there a connectivity problem at your side?
Yes.
Would you like to continue?
Hello.
Oh.
Hello.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, all right. so ho na hun tra kan nei hi lom om ka tia kan hlok pui vek po ka be se em ani Mizoram mina kan act ni chinai so yang khan PB Sangkhumi te malak na wanga he Mizo in nei in chenle ro khom chungcha kan dan thar hi tuna po kan mangmol mul to a kan tangkai puyen mani ka kan soi du bokani un thatak mang hozel torin do sakna ka hlan be ka cheu.
Thank you very much, Madam, for your invaluable, encouragement and opening remarks and inaugural, speech, something like. So thank you so much. I know Pilom Chungwe has been given such a keen interest to bring a positive change to this society. As a chairperson of the Mizoram State Commission for Women, they had been convening many of the seminars, workshops, consultations, even a meeting on these very particular issues, apart from other important issues. So, well, I was sitting and then we had actually attended many consultation meetings on this very issue under the leadership of P. Lom Chungi also. And that chapter is not yet, I think, closed. And they will be bringing to the in such a written form and submitted to the concerned authority, that is the government of Mizoram. If need be, change will also be made on this very issue also. So I shouldn't take long, and then thank you so much, Madam, for your kind words and encouragement also. And then I hope you will be there here with us till the end, and then so that we can also have interaction and where we can exchange what we have in our mind and what can we do and all like that. So thank you once again. So now I may like to invite, PB Sankhumi to take, this platform to actually share some of her contribution and experience also towards women and the customary law also. Then before I invite her, let me just share some few things about the Sangkhumi also. So she has done her BA History Honors from Lady King College, Shillong, securing a 7th position in merit under Govt University in 1966, and MA History under Govt University in 72. So, well, we are not yet even in the primary school. She had already qualified all these things. So I'm happy that I could also read in Lady King College the same subject, that is history, and we shared the same teacher also, I remember, but I shouldn't share much. So she is a worthy of and honors of many, like middle school living certificate stood first, and then as a second year BA honors she stood first, and then certificate and citation were also given to her from Ram Krishna Mission and Lady King College, Shillong, and she was invited to represent Assam at the International Youth Seminar, 400 participants. That one was long ago in 1970, and she has experience, many under the government of Mizoram, like a lecturer, and had Department of History for 11 years, and Principal UGC-Women College, Deputy Director cum Secretary, Mizoram Scholarship Board, Joint Director, Technical Education, Founder, Superintendent, Collegiate Boys Hostel, Founder Principal, Mizoram Women Polytechnic, Project Director, World Bank Project for Technician Education, then Director, Higher and Technical Education under Government of Mizoram, then Member, Mizoram Public Service Commission for 4.5 years. Then Chairperson, Mizoram Public Service Commission during 2007 to 11. Then she has also such experiences under non-government in non-government organization or government also, like General Secretary MZP joins headquarters Shillong for outside Mizoram state, Financial Secretary or Treasurer MZP Shillong branch, and President MHIP General Headquarters for 3 terms and all, and Vice President and Joint Secretary, Finance Secretary, MHEP General Headquarters from 1995 to 2005. Then President, MHIP Chaltang South Branch 2014 till date. Then Chairman, New Life Home Society, Chairman, Vampalai Association, President, Mizoram Women Welfare Forum, President, Wisdom, Advisor, Indian Women Christian Movement, Advisor, Mizoram De-Addiction Coordinator, Coordination Forum, Patron, Drugs Free Mizoram and all. So she has a good contributions for Mizo women, like establishment of the first de-addiction counseling and rehabilitation center for women, that is Jericho Kualbu. Then strengthening of Jirtiri Women College as principal, then establishment of Women Polytechnic at Aizawl City. Then she has joined MHEP General Headquarters as committee member. In 1995, she was elected as President MHIP Headquarters for 3 terms, each of 2 years. Then Vice President and different posts of OB, and she was MHEP General Headquarters for 19 years, and it was mainly through her effort that MHIP General Quarters, Assembly passed Women Empowerment as the theme of MHEP for 16 executive years. Then the Mizo Marriage, Divorce and Inheritance of Property Act 2014 was passed by the Mizoram Legislative Assembly on November 12, 2014, is the outcome of a long and sincere effort of PB Sangkhumi. Well, she was in the president of MHEP. Then when Domestic Violence Act 2005 was enacted on the floor of Parliament in India, then because of her personal intervention and then persuasion of the government of Mizoram, and it was enacted on the floor of the State Legislative Assembly in 2006, and Mizoram becomes the first state to enact this domestic violence Act 2005. Then Magai Terun Orphanage Home was also established during her period. Then as a chairman of Mizoram Public Service Commission, then Mizoram Police Service recruitment rules was reviewed, and concession in physical fitness test was also met in line with the UPSC and Mizoram Police recruitment rules as per the police code of conduct like. So this concession was included in Mizoram Public Service Commission examination rules for recruitment of MPS also. I remember because of this relaxation or concession as per the Indian Police Manual, then when we conducted the training, then we could have, MPS around 6 or 7 women MPS so far. So this is one of the actually great achievements of the PB Sangkhumi. So she actually has given many important points, in contributions apart from that. So we are very proud of her, and we are very lucky to have her in our midst as a guest of honor and to grace this occasion. So with these few words, I extend my warm welcome once again and invite her to actually share important points with us. Thank you. PB Sangkhumi, may I kindly invite you to take this platform. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. I don't know whether I'll speak in Mizo or English. I've been told that there's no one among the participants and attendants who are not able to understand Mizo.
Yes, madam, I'm sorry. I forgot to inform you that we have some few colleagues from Mizoram University, even from some friends from outside Mizoram, and even there is a scholar from outside Mizoram doesn't speak Mizo. So sometimes we also mixed with the Mizo with, kind permission of our friends from who do not speak Mizo. Yeah, thank you. Please carry on, ma'am.
Okay, so I have to speak in English. I have to present my subject in English, huh? Okay. Thank you so much. Thank you very much for inviting me in this valuable session organized by highly reputed Mizoram University, under which there is a women's studies who is headed by Professor Lalnunsiama, who has kindly invited me to participate in this occasion. Thank you so much. And first of all, I want to thank you all to invite me in this valuable and important program. I don't know how far I have to share with you, but as she has pointed out, it is not just Mizo customary law. The subject will be Mizo customary law and Mizo women, isn't it? So I thank you all. I thank especially to Professor Lalnunsiama, who has invited me for this. And also I thank the chairperson of Mizoram Women Commission, Mizoram State Women Commission, Lalnunsiama, and our beloved advocate, and to all of you. And I feel very fortunate to have a legal person like Lalnunsiama, who is very much interested in Mizo customary law. And I don't know much about him, but I used to associate with his elder brother, Lalnunsiama. Actually, he was the one whom I engaged him in many occasions, and also to translate our draft bills submitted to the government for legislation by the Mizoram Legislative Assembly. And anyway, I thank both of them for being very interested in Mizo customary law, and especially very much beneficial for women, for Mizo women as a whole. As we all know, Mizo customary law came into being due to the compilation of our traditional customary laws by N.E. Perry way back in 1927. Of course, before the before we came under the administration of the British, Mizoram, there was no Mizoram, with the Lusays administered the Mizo, the Lusai people, I should say. But it was brought under the administration of the British in 1890. One of the superintendents under the British government compiled the Mizo customary laws inviting important chiefs so that they will be able to run better administration among the Mizo community. I don't know whether this is fortunate or unfortunate. I used to think that this is partly unfortunate because since it was written, since we have in a, written in paper, each and everyone was trying to be very strict according to the written laws. So anyway, it was put into writing way back in 1927 by N.E. Parry. This was used by the Britishers for administration of the Lusai people. And when India became independent in 1947, and Mizoram was placed under the administration of the district council. And the district council continued to use these customary laws. But they found that it is not applicable in total. It was not applicable in many cases, in all, in different parts of Mizoram. So they form a committee or say this under, they form a committee under the district council, and that in that committee, there was one lady who was making a good contribution in the amendment of the Mizo customary law. And it is due to her, it was due to her efforts that these Mizo women, a Mizo girl or a Mizo woman was able to inherit her father's property or her husband's property according to, if there was a will. So, in the Mizo customary law, which according to the laws compiled by N.E. Parry, a woman could not inherit her father's property, whether a single girl, a lone child, or a single girl or a woman cannot inherit her father's property, nor her husband's property. Number two, a divorced woman could not have any share, and she had to leave her husband and the house empty-handed. Even if they got married for 30 years or so, if she was divorced, she didn't have anything to share. And one of the tragic points tragic fate, I should say, in case of the Mizo women is there is no harm in wives beating. A husband could beat his wife like an animal. That is the fate of a Mizo women. And at the same time, there were so many sayings trampling on the women, like a woman's wisdom doesn't cross a village spring. And one of the hateful saying is, that an old fence is to be replaced by a new one. Likewise, an old wife can be replaced by a new one. And side by side, there is another saying that a buffalo, or say an ox, usually choose the young grass, isn't it? That's why an old man can replace his old wife. And there is no harm in that. Likewise, there were so many sayings trampling on the status of women, I should say. I should say trample on the status of women and the women themselves. So, since it was put in writing, it became so strong in the mindset of the Mizo community as a whole. Since you allow me to share my personal experiences, let me say that I used to write an article while I was a student in Ceylon regarding marriage. In the Mizo customary law, there was no proper marriage. And that's why while I was in the government service, I was invited 3 times to join MHEP headquarters. Twice I rejected because the first one was while I was a lecturer in Patunga University College, I was invited to be a member in the executive committee. And secondly, while I was a principal of UGC Women's College, they invited me again. Twice I rejected. And the third time, while I was a Joint Director Technical in Higher and Technical Education, they invited me again. And I feel that this must be a call from God. I dare not to reject it. That's why I joined MHEP headquarters as executive committee member in 1995. Mainly because I want to make some changes in the Mizo customary law, especially to uplift the status of women. In MHEP, after every 2 years, we used to have General Assembly. And just before the end of our term. The term is 2 years, from 1995 to 97. And for the agenda of the General Assembly in 1997, I proposed women empowerment as agenda to be the theme of MHEP during 1997 to 1999 for 2 years. I remember when I suggested in the committee, 2 women stood up and they said, 2 of them, one was the wife of a church elder and the other one was the wife of a pastor. And both of them stood up and said, if this is the theme of MHEP, we won't be able to be a member. Our husbands won't allow us to be a member. So I started laughing and said, okay, it will not be women empowerment. Let it be women's year. At last we passed, and then in the General Assembly, I was appointed to present the agenda, and then in the agenda, we dare not to call it women's empowerment, we call it women's year. And I was requested by the executive committee to write a booklet on women's year and the guidelines. And that was flag off in Vanapa Hall in 1997. From that time onward, it started flaring up, and MHEP continued to use women's empowerment as the theme of MHEP for 16 consecutive years. Even in my absence, they always pass in the General Assembly to be the theme of MHEP for the coming 2 years. Likewise, 16 consecutive years we're doing awareness campaign on women's empowerment. Let me share again one more thing is, when we started talking about women's empowerment, it is the women, we the women ourselves, I should say ourselves, not able to accept, because, Mizo society as a whole, we call ourselves 100% Christians. In Christianity, male dominance is very much prominent. And we women used to think that our status in Mizo society and in our family actually had already been set by God. It is God who made this status for us. That's why whoever talks about changes or upliftment or whatever, we women used to think that this is not the will of God. That's what I faced on many occasions personally. So I feel that to bring about changes in the Mizo society, especially in relation to women's status, we need awareness campaigns, especially among women. So I devoted myself wholeheartedly for awareness campaigns. As introduced about myself by Professor Lalnunsiama, I was elected three terms, 6 years as the president of MHEP General Headquarters. This MHEP is the largest women organization having more than 750 branches within and outside Mizoram. Okay, let me speed up. So we started doing these awareness campaigns right from 1997. And in the meantime, this Mizo Customary Law Subcommittee was made, and that committee was trying to make some improvement, especially in regarding status of women. I was also selected to be one of the members. That time in the beginning, only 2 of us were selected, but I didn't take much time. I didn't participate properly. And at last, when Mizoram was upgraded into UT, Union Territory, Mizoram, the Mizo Customary Law Committee was formed under Law Department, and MHEP, 2 persons as representative of MHEP were also allowed to be the members. And we are trying our level best to impress upon the minds of the committee to make some changes, but it's really very, very tough. And at last it was compiled, I should say, hurriedly. It was compiled in 2005 to be used for administration of the Mizo community, for, so to say, social administration. But we've come to learn that until and unless these laws were passed by the Legislative Assembly, or until and unless these laws are legalized, it cannot be used. And side by side, it was also said that customary laws are never legalized. That time, I was the president, newly elected president. After having learned about all this, with the permission of our MHEP headquarters executive committee, I started working very hard, and we invited one advocate to make the drafts, 3 drafts bill to be submitted for legislation. Number 1 is the Mizo Christian marriage bill. That is in 2005. And the second is the Mizo divorce bill draft. And number 3 is the Mizo inheritance and succession bill draft 2005. We organized a seminar on 16th December 2005, inviting representatives from all branches and important headquarters, sub-headquarters, blocks, joints, and also all prominent citizens of Mizoram from Aizawl, and representatives from all women organizations and church, women wing of the church, different churches. And we all agreed to proceed forward. And under my chairmanship, the coordination committee carefully studied, reviewed and all, and at last, on 1st June 2006, we submitted to Law Department for legislation in the Legislative Assembly. But it's really very tough. That was in 2006. And till September 2008, it was not yet passed or submitted into Legislative Assembly for legislation. And we pressurized from all possible corners. At last, they asked me, we won't be able to take up these 3 bills at a time. Which one do you feel most important? I told them, yes, the most important one is the divorce bill. This is most important because women didn't have any share at the time of divorce. A woman has to leave her house empty-handed while the children want to follow her. And that divorced wife doesn't have any place in her own home, in her parents' home. And then she has to live in a rented house in the basement, mainly in the basement, in the suburb area. Then she started selling liquor, she started selling drugs, and she started selling herself. So this is the main cause of social evils in the Mizo community. And they agreed, okay, we'll take up. So in September, assembly could not be convened anymore. And the Mizoram cabinet at last passed for an ordinance on 4th October 2008. Election was to be held in November 2008. Just before, 1 month before the election, it was passed by the Mizoram cabinet. So we had the Mizo Divorce Ordinance, which we, MHCP, celebrated in almost all the hills in Mizoram, by all the sub-headquarters, blocks, joints, and many branches. And then I was accused of, campaigning. But when they checked all the CDs of my speech, they didn't find anything. At last, the governor requested me. That time I was the chairman of the Mizoram Public Service Commission. The governor asked me which one I would like to continue. I said, okay, I want to continue to be a chairman. So I left the post of president of MHCP in 2009. But MHCP appointed me as advisor. We continue to pressurize the new ministry. The new ministry formed in 2008. We have seen that that diverse ordinance was so much welcomed by all sections of women. That's why the chief minister told me he will do better than the previous one. And they formed the Mizoram State Commission, yes. So they revised and, they've taken up these 3 bills into 1 bill, and they out of that, they made the Mizo marriage, divorce, and inheritance of succession bill. And whenever they ask me, what do you want to say? I used to say, I'm not going to say anything. That what I want is you to be passed by the assembly. I'll be very happy if you pass it, the skeleton only. Whether it is skeletal or not, I don't bother. I want the act to be passed. Later on, we can amend as we like. I want the act. That's why that before it was passed by the assembly, all the NGOs and the churches were invited to give their opinion. The Law Commission invited me and the MHCP invited me, but I said I wouldn't go because I accepted everything. If I make any complaints, I'm afraid it won't get through the assembly. So I absented myself. But luckily, it was passed on November 12, 2014. What I said is, please give a bunch of roses, not only 1, 2 at a time, because that time reservation for women in the village council and local council was also passed. So that is how the MHCP and I as the president and as advisor pressurize the government and the political parties from all possible corners. At last we are successful. That's why what I want, what remark I always make is, this is not my contribution. This is the contribution of women together. This is the outcome of our efforts together, not any person alone. This is the outcome of strong and sincere and long efforts of Mizo women. And at the same time, side by side, let me point out one more important contribution of Mizo women is this domestic Protection of Women from Domestic Violence Act 2005. That was passed by the Indian Parliament in 2005, but it was notified for adoption by all states except Jammu and Kashmir on 26th October 2006. As soon as we heard about this, I was the president, and we convened a special assembly of MHEP on 8 and 9 November 2006, right after it was notified. And we invited Mizoram Thanga, the chief minister, as our chief guest. So before he made any speech, we requested him to tie Mizoram to be the first state to adopt this Domestic Violence Act among all Indian states. Because you may ask me why? Because wives beating, there is no harm in wives beating. That is according to the Mizo customary law. That's why this wives beating, not only your children or other people, but wives beating hits me so hard. And I asked the chief minister not to let down my request. So in the special assembly, the special assembly passed a resolution pressing the government to adopt this act as soon as possible to make Mizoram state to be the first state in Indian state adopting the act. And luckily, Mizoram Legislative Assembly adopted the act in 2007. So let me end up by sharing, because it's too long. I'm sorry that I wouldn't be able, I cannot speak, so fast like others. I used to speak so slow. That's why I take such a long time. I beg your pardon and your consideration, because I want to expose my experiences so that it may be beneficial for at least one or two participants to take up any problems which we want to press through. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, Madam. So wonderful, so wonderfully expressed. Very informative and really thought-provoking. Speech that has been given. By you to this very occasion. So I'm so happy, and then I know that many of the participants are very much, what we call it, provoked, even would like to, share some few things, and especially Vijaya Lakshmi Brabra also. But now I'm not going to invite any one of the participants. So thank you so much, Madam. I should not actually, give much comment on the speech that has been given by you as a guest of honor. So the Mizo Marriage, Divorce and Inheritance of Property Act 2014 has been an outcome of the Mizo Divorce Ordinance. That one was actually a great contribution from Mizoram Meitei Insui Kompol under the leadership of PB Sangkhumi, and many more also that she actually could not shared many things. Of what especially those. Where she has deeply actually participated and involved in towards the contribution of these good things to the society. So as he had already mentioned that, I would like to say this: the status of women in the state of Mizoram has been low in politics, in social life, public life, even in the church. As Mizoram is a Christian state, then women are not having any voice in the church court. So that means they cannot be ordained pastor, they cannot be ordained church elder, that is deacons. So, and then when we come to the NGO and all, then unless and until it is a women NGO, then women are not actually occupying a leadership post. So that is what we have, that has been learned even from the experience of Mizoram. So then again, if we see other, area where the indicator or the important indicator for women empowerment and all, we do not find such, satisfactory stances. So as PB Sangkhumi has already mentioned that, especially the position of women in politics is very, very low. Then since 1972, when we get our union territoryhood, we could not get even 2%, women MLA also. Then sometimes we don't have even a sitting women MLA almost, for 30 years, like that. Then after almost 30 years, one women become an MLA, and C2 also for a period of 3 years term, something 3 years duration only. But anyway, after the union territory, 2 women we could have, but they are given such a good position, elevating to the position of Minister of State, like that. But in the present government, we don't have even a single out of 40 MLA, even we do not have a single women MLA. So from the very point of view also, we can say that the position of women the status of women is very low. So that's why the government of India under the Ministry of Panchayati Raj felt a need to actually bring women political empowerment in the state of Mizoram. So a committee was formed that is called Core Committee Panchayat Mahila Shakti Abhiyan to make women political empowerment movement in the state of Mizoram. So a very important committee was formed by the government of Mizoram under the directive of the Ministry of Panchayati Raj in 2008. Then that very committee was actually entrusted to make a charter of demand for the political empowerment of women. So the first thing was that, introduction of the 73rd and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act, and 74th Constitutional Amendment Act was already passed in 2007, but it was purposefully or unknowingly actually left out the Article 243T, that state reservation, not less than 33. So that one was one of the target and the goal that is to be actually achieved by this women core committee. So then finally the Mizoram Municipalities Act was amended. Then that very article clause was also inserted by this Mizoram State Legislative Assembly after amendment has been made. So seat reservation for Aizawl Municipal Corporation has been made. Now, out of 19 wards, we could have 6 women. So presently, 2 women were actually elected from the general seat. Then we could have out of 19, then 8 women has been councillor of the Aizawl Municipal Corporation. So in this VC village council and Aizawl local councils and all, and there was no seat reservation. We could not even achieve 2% women participation in the village council also. That one was one of the actually area that has been actually taken care in their demand. Then finally amendment was made again. Then this local council has been introduced under this the Mizoram Municipalities Act. That one was one of the most important achievement made by the core committee Panchayat Mahila Shakti Abhiyan. So way back in 2008 and 2009. So as P. Sangkhumi has already mentioned that due to the collective efforts of the women NGO and individuals, that the status of women are now improving, slowly, then greater improvement will be achieved, I think, in the near future. So with these few words, I say once again, thank you to PB Sangkhumi, and then I hope there will be a chance where the participants also are interacting, and we can also discuss even in Mizo, even in English also. This is what I would like to say once again. So now we would like to invite Mr. T. Lalnunsiama to take his turn. Well, I'm inviting, and then just let me share some few actually information about his brief curriculum vitae. So the Lalnunsiama, as I had already mentioned, that who has made a good contribution even to this society also, as a lawyer, as an advocate. So I know him personally also, and then he is such a great personality, I should say. He is actually an advocate in the state of Mizoram, even outside Mizoram also, serving the needy people in legal matters. So he has actually obtained his BA economics, then MA in political science, then LLB also. So he is deeply involved in the social activities like President Center for Peace and Development, that is CPD, then legal cell member, Mizoram State Commission for Women, many years. Then he cannot just leave, and then we don't allow him to leave this, the Mizoram State Commission for Women. Then he has been a legal advisor, Mizo Zirlaipol, then the treasurer, Mizo Writers Association, then executive member, Mizoram Amateur Taekwondo Association. Then he has been deeply involved in the church activities also as a teacher of the children like that. And then even many other organs of the church and all. Then he has also actually worked in Silsil Hipshon, then kind of publications, then Mishing Mga Sungdon, that is human trafficking and all. Then a booklet was also published by the Central KTP and all. Then handbook that is comprising of relevant acts and rules in Mizoram. That one was published in 2015. Then Chak Khai has been published by him also. Then Legal Forum Volume 2 has been co-edited by him, and he wrote many articles, even essays, in many journals, and edited volumes, books and all, more than 120. Then he is having such a professional experience like, handling both civil and criminal cases at Guwahati High Court, Aizawl Bench, and district courts in Mizoram. Then assistant professor part-time, Government Law College also. Then empaneled lawyer of Mizoram Rural Bank. Then giving legal awareness, even lectures, and then seminars in more than 200 institutions or places. Then he has also co-curricular activities having deeply involved, like winner of gold medal in some sports, discipline, then best athletes in Mizoram University, then way back in 2006, then heavyweight boxing champion in Mizoram Boxing Championship in 2007. Then he is a winner of the trophy named Mizoram from Naber, something like that. So he has such a good experience and a great personality. We are very lucky to have him in our midst and to be, acting as a speaker of this very program. So with these few words, I once again welcome Mr. T. Lalnunsiama. We call him Pate, Pupate. So thank you so much for agreeing this our humble invitation. So I'm giving you this platform and you may take over, okay, your time. And if you want to share your slide point, then the host will be helping you. If there is any problem, then you can also inform accordingly. Okay, thank you. Over to you, Mr. T. Lalnunsiama, please.
Okay, first of all, Pila Lontungi, Chairperson of Mizoram State Commission for Women, PB Sangkhumi, who is Padma Shri Awardee, guest of honor of tonight's program, who is the backbone for upliftment of women among the Mizos, and Professor Lalnunsiama, coordinator of the program, and other friends. I am happy to have this opportunity amidst the pandemic COVID-19 and its affected restriction in several forms. However, even though I am free from COVID-19, I have some colds these days as my voice is also not stable tonight. It would be mixing up with some coughing. So this is also my apology to all of you in case I have some coughing and problems in speaking tonight. And I'll have a screen share tonight. And the host may kindly help me if it's required. I think my screen is visible. Madam host, is it visible?
It is visible.
Okay,
it is visible, but you may also make it, you may press it, P5, to make it a full screen.
Okay, it's not in the full screen now.
It is not. Anyway, it's okay, no problem. We can see it very clearly.
Okay, I think it's better to have a full screen. I have to press what? Can you kindly tell me again? Okay, let me go ahead. Tonight's topic is women and Mizo customary law. The first thing I would like to highlight is what is customary law. The word custom literally, grammatically, or ordinarily means tradition, practice, usage, observance, way, convention, procedure, ceremony, rituals, ordinance, forms, etc. According to Solomon, custom is the embodiment of those principles which have commended themselves to the national conscience as principles of justice and public utility. According to Austin, they are great jurists. Custom is a rule of conduct which is the governed, observed spontaneously and not in a pursuance of law set by a political superior. If we say customary law, it is also already pointed out by our guest of honor tonight. It is neither enacted nor amended by legislation. It grows up, it molds up from the practices of certain class of people. And in jurisprudence, which is the study of law, there are different tests which give valid customary law, which are immemorial antiquity. Immemorial antiquity. The first test of this valid custom is that it must be immemorial. It must be old or ancient and must not be of recent origin. So whenever we talk about customary law, it must have this first ingredient, this first element, that is immemorial antiquity. And the next one is reasonableness. The customary law would always have to go through the test of this reasonableness. It must be reasonable. It must be free from unreasonableness, and it must be useful and convenient to the society. And the next thing is morality. This third test of a valid custom is that a custom to be valid must not be immoral. It is a well-recognized rule that a custom should not be opposed to the decency and morality. And not only that, the next thing is continuity. The fourth test for a valid custom is that it must have continuously observed without any interruption. The general rule is also that if a custom has not been followed continuously and uninterruptedly for a long time, it would not be a valid custom. And the next thing is peaceful enjoyment. The next important test of customary law is that custom must have been enjoyed peacefully. Another one is consistency. The test for a valid custom is that it must be in conformity with the statute law. It should not be contrary. It should not be arbitrary to the statutory law. And another thing is certainty. This is an indispensable condition of a valid custom. A custom, however ancient, must not be indefinite and uncertain. And another thing is compulsory observance. A custom to be legally recognized as a valid custom must be observed as a matter of right. And another thing is juridical nature. A custom must be of a juridical nature. A custom must refer to legal relations. A mere voluntary practice, not conceived of as being based on any rule of right or obligation, doesn't amount to a legal custom. And last, public policy. This test for the validity of a custom is that it should not be opposed to public policy. This test may be included in the test of reasonableness, as it is very wide term, and it may include public policy as well. Such being the situations, the very words, Mizo customary laws should also pass through the test which I have mentioned above. And hence it is the opinion of the jurist that the customary laws can never be enacted by way of legislative or parliamentary enactments. Now, let us, keeping in mind those I have highlighted above, let us have some background of the Mizo customary laws, the so-called Mizo customary laws. Naturally, the Mizos are close-knit society with law-abiding citizens. We have unique lifestyles and traditions. And it is also rightly pointed out by our guest of honor tonight. When the British started to rule over the Mizos in 1890, they were known as Lusays, and the then ICS Borsap and Ibari collected the customs and traditions of the Mizos and compiled the same after consultation with the then chiefs of Mizoram, who are ruling in different parts of the state. And the compilation was first published in 1928, which provided useful reference for the chiefs who administered over the then Lusai Hills. In the year 1954, the name Lusai Hills had been changed and known as Mizo District, in which there had been socio-economic changes among the Mizos, which resulted again a compilation of Mizo Customary Laws 1956 by the then Mizo District Council. in which the district council based the compilation made by the said Mr. Anipari. The customary law was made and compiled by the Mizo District Council to be used together with the Mizo Autonomous District Administration of Justice Rules, 1953. It was made in Mizo vernacular, but the same was translated in English by the Mizo District Council, which was again certified and rectified by the President District Council Court on 21st June 1973. In fact, the status of women under the same Mizo customary law was not satisfactory, especially in case of divorce and inheritance, as the wife bylaws has no share over the acquired property of the family, thereby posing unrest among the feminist groups and several NGOs and social activists. The state government in 1980 set up the Mizo Customary Law Committee to make compilation of comprehensive traditions and practices to be used as customary laws. The committee thereafter invited suggestions from various organizations as such. There was pendency of the process for long duration. Very lately, as already pointed out by our guest of honor, Bibi Sangkhumi, Mizo Namdan, Mizo Customary Law was finally published and notified in Mizoram Gazette. It was notified in Mizoram Gazette in 6/4/2005, issue number 67. The status of women under the new notified customary law was also in fact not satisfied with. However, as pointed out earlier, the local custom to be legally valid and to operate as a source of law must satisfy the test of reasonableness, conformity with statute of law, observance of right, certainty, consistency, etc. It was strongly opined by the jurists among the Mizos that the said new notified customary law did not go through the several tests of customary law, which resulted in the crying need of making new legislation for some separate special acts, which was already explained by B.B. Sangkhumi, but Masri Awadi. Hence, the Mizo Marriage, Divorce and Inheritance of Property Act 2014 came into being, which provides better scope for women, and the same is in fact a milestone for the status of women in the Mizo society. Now, let us try to have the status of women under the Mizo customary law, which I already highlighted. And under this Mizo customary law, I shall try to give the status of women in some aspects such as marriage, divorce, and few social life and inheritance of property. And first we have marriage. Section 20 of the Mizo Customary Law 1956 talks about marriage price. The marriage price in every marriage, according to the Mizo custom, marriage price may or may not be paid according to the mutual agreement reached in the marrying family, in the two partners. And if the marriage price is paid, the legitimate receiver is the father of the bride, and then the brother or the nearest relative. The marriage price is mainly divided in two parts. One is main marriage price, sum pui, and another is subsidiary marriage price, sum fang, kantiang chikane. The subsidiary marriage price is meant for enlarging the family. It is to enlarge the family circle, the relationship with others. And the second one, that is section 37 of the Mizo Customary Law, 1956. It talks about May. Under the customary law, a man can have two or more wives, which are called May. Rules and conditions governing the marriage price and divorce of A concubine is the same as that of the principal wife, and there is no difference between the two. It means that a person, if he is willingly to provide the necessity, he can have 2 or more wives. And next we have section 39, nupui poi koi, wrong committed by a wife. Wrong committed by a wife. The person answerable for wrongs committed by a wife shall be different according to the nature of the case. It means that in case the wife committed some kind of wrong, some kind of offense, it may be answered by the husband or other relatives, depending upon the circumstances. Nupuin poya koya ni chuan apa salemo mo achung te dang tue mo kha engeri anva charge take dinari chu. However, in some cases, when other persons are fined in her favor, such fines that should be received by her husband or by the receiver of marriage price are also made different. If a married girl has stolen, it is one of illustrations given by the customary law itself. If a married girl has stolen any of the content of the basket container, tool kan tiang chi, drink tool, man lai kan Mizo people kan man lare me mang chi kha, ngang chi kha. In case a wife, a married girl, has stolen certain certain properties, the receiver of her marriage price, means it may be the father, it may be the brother, shall be answerable for it. And if her husband pays such fine for her, equal amounts to the fine paid shall be deducted from her marriage price. It means that in many occasions, the marriage price cannot be paid in full due to the economic conditions of the husband. It may sometimes paid 1/3 of the marriage price. It may sometimes paid half of the marriage price. So anyway, in case of fine, the fine given by the husband is also adjusted with the remaining marriage price. And another thing is that if a married girl has been alleged to have committed adultery or similar unfaithfulness, and if the person who made the allegation has been fined for pasal name wire na lo di ta sila chuna wire tu kha sum lo choi ti ta sila dinari, the fine shall be received by her brother or any other person who is the recipient of the marriage price. It is very important thing, meaning that the husband has not received the fine imposed due to the commission of adultery. It is the father or the recipient of the marriage price who receive fine for a commission of adultery by the married girl. If a man is fined for such offense against a married girl as loy claim, sleeping with her by personating her husband, actually it depends upon it is the brother or the recipient of the marriage price who receive the fine. Sexual, if it relates to sexual offense like adultery or some other touching breast or loithen, sleeping with her by personating her husband, apasalemo tia lova một puyang chite puan fen zar kai par antia chu kolaya. If a girl is publicly made something like if the skirt is opened publicly, puan fen and po lip sakang chite kangka pui ko na ting vegani, her brother or the recipient of the marriage price shall receive the fine. And section 41 is very interesting. Money paid back for calling back the divorced wife. If a man divorces his wife in order to marry another girl who promises to marry him, And if the girl thereafter refuses to marry him, she shall pay rupees 50 for calling back his divorced wife. Omzia country turangai taila. Nupui. Example, I have a wife who is living with me, and maybe some next day I find another lady who is found to be fit for my wife, and then I let my present wife go away due to the reason that I want to take another wife. So the second, the lady which I prefer to take again as my wife, if she later on refused to be my wife, and that lady, that second lady, will be imposed a fine of rupees 50 for calling back my divorced wife. That is the thing which is given under section 41. And if the wife is not coming back, and thereafter, when I try to call back my wife, if she's not coming back, she shall be treated as sumchua. Mo he affair lo khop mai e kanu pui ka ko tum let ka ko let tum kha aron let du lo ta pui dang ne ka tum wangin kanu pui nei tum kha min du lo le ta ma min du angai sei vek si kha chumi ko le la tu ra chu engeni khami a second wave tu ra kha propose kha ni che somma tumanga mai ro chu khami kha ne min me ne du lo khan kanu pui tlam ta kha kan ko le le nga mo se aron le lu to lo ni jan sum chu angin na kal do ta ne. This is a sort of money must be paid as soon as possible. This 50 rupees for calling back the divorce wife is not counted as marriage price. It can be spent as famhanoi and tichuan. It means irrecoverable. It means irrecoverable in case of divorce afterwards. The next thing, mankiamna, section 42, mankiamna is also very interesting. A reduction of marriage price. Ordinarily, the marriage price of a woman who has once been married is reduced by tlai. Kalamda hindi ke mo handik lawani chon kina minon correct taula. The previous one, rupees 50. Actually, these days rupees 50 is not actually this is a cheap money, because almost all the children also have 50 rupees in their own. But in the olden days, like in the year 1956, 50 rupees will be quite high. Actually, it will be very costly.
Excuse me.
Yes, please.
Yeah, Mr. Speaker. It must be pronounced as tlai.
Tlai mo.
Tlai anilo mo. Okay. Yeah,
thank you so much. Tlai sial the point you can mean no pui nei to pasal nei to khan lo nei le ni chuan ahlut ta ka akiam don ti na ni chu cheng som pi hisab cheng som ni vel tu na sial pakhat pu vel ni chu mo khang khana kiam don at the time woman who has been once married included nuthoi means divorcee, meaning a woman who has been once married and has separated from her husband by any form of divorce. And another shrinkir, same as preceding. Shrinkir means a woman who has left her husband after a short time of her marriage and before she bears any child. Lusun, a widow losing her husband by death. Lam thang rapta. The book. The kind pony say to me in case a woman is to have remarriage, her marriage price is reduced by around rupees 20. And this mode of reduction of marriage price in these cases depends upon the qualities and characters, charms of the woman. If such a woman is of a very good character and attractive, her marriage price may be the same as that of a girl who has never been married. Le atrakho maitro khanu kha engeni zonglai angmaya thavar mai mo sit omre reng lo ni chuan aman kiam na ko kha om lo don tu engeni om lo tu ka ngai ani If such woman is still capable of bearing 1 or 2 children, her marriage price will not be less than ₹40. And if she has passes the childbearing stage, her marriage price will not be less than ₹20. Lengle is a woman who married for a very short time and left her husband. And the next thing is mark. There is a kind of divorce. Section 46 of the customary law says divorced by husband and thereby pays up all the marriage price. If a man divorces his wife on mark, he must pay all the marriage price, including the outstanding balance, whether she is descendable or not. The wife who has been divorced on mark can take with her all personal belongings in her dowry. A man who divorces his wife on mark must escort safely his divorced wife to her village where she will be settled, meaning that the divorced wife has no property from the acquired, has no share from the acquired property. And section 47 again talks about sumchua, divorce by wife. If a woman divorces her husband on sumchua, she shall take with all her personal belongings and dowry, and shall also return till her marriage price that has been paid. If again a gail or any other thing that has been paid, that has been given for the marriage price is still kept, the same shall be returned. If it is no longer kept, equal amounts that has been agreed upon for such article at the time of marriage shall be returned. Meaning that in case of sumchua, she has to return all the marriage price paid by the husband at the time of marriage. And another thing, section 49, collecting the wife's personal property in case of death or divorce. Actually, this provision is also still relevant in these days in some areas, in some villages. In case a wife passed away, if she is died, the family members, her family members, parents, or some other relative often took away her personal belongings. When collecting the personal property of divorced or deceased wife, if anything belonging to her husband is taken, along with her relatives who collect her property, is liable to a fine of ₹40. At the time of collecting the personal property of the wife, if they collected the property of the husband, it will be imposed a fine. But this custom has been dropped in a number of villages, and there is general consensus of opinion that it should be dropped because it opened an opportunity for placing the husband's articles sacredly in the basket container of the wife, with the intention to claim a fine of ₹40. And as such, it is dropped. And if anything belonging to her husband is found afterwards among her personal property, it will simply be returned. If, however, it is an obvious case of there in this connection, it will be dealt with such. Section 50, sumlight and divorce by mutual agreement, and thereby shared the marriage price equally into half. If a divorce on sumlighten, each party agreed the divorce under the term, neither party can be forced to a divorce of this kind. In a divorce on sumlighten, the sharing of the marriage price equally into half by the parties applies to both manpui main marriage price and mantrang subsidiary marriage price. The meaning is that, you see, this is also somehow relevant in this present era, because in several situations, I have also dealt with some cases between the couples, between the parties, male and female, husband and wife. In some situations, if we try to obtain divorce decree, divorce order from the lower court, the wife or the husband somehow push the other party to have agreed with their divorce by way of sumlighten. Actually, as per this customary law, neither party can be forced to be divorced of this kind. It will be consented by both parties willingly. And section 52, pasal omlo Lalnunsiama, leaving husbands during his absence. If a husband left the country or has been away from house for a long time for any reason, And if his wife left his house during his absence at her own accord, she shall be treated as sumchua. Ông gì cần thiết bằng tiếng rồi, pasal khắc anh ngồi tin ông bố vắng vắng thằng bố vắng vắng kami lana no puya lo chua cái này chuan sumchu ang ngay này, biết này. Section 53. Section 53 again talks about abnavanga intent, divorce on account of madness. When one of the parties to a marriage become mad after marriage, the custom is as follows. If a wife becomes mad, her husband must look after her for 3 years. If she is not cured after 3 years, he can divorce or take a tongue, husband forfeiting the marriage price that has been paid. If he divorced her before the expiry of 3 years, it is taken as divorce on mark, divorce paying up all the marriage price. And if he is not cured during that period, or to nabi kanan soika, now zia chuan kum thum chung kha pasalin anu pui kha en kolangai ti na ne mo na khatiang zel khan kum thum chung ani en kol tolangai ti na ne chubi hun chunga anin thenda na zir khan emo chubi hun chunga an lo nge ni dam thei lo ni chuan incurable lo ni chuan in thend ane mai ro chu kum thum na kheng zo lo ni chuan pek sa change mo ma ki na mo chu dom ti na ne. Section 54. Meichia apasal chung ten an mathelo. A wife cannot be divorced by family members of her husband. This is also very relevant these days because in many places we have received some information regarding the divorce by family members of the husband. It is sometimes happened that family members of the husband try to divorce his wife, even more than times, just because they do not like her. This is actually contrary to the custom. Wife cannot be compelled, wife cannot be divorced by any person other than her own husband. Okay, we must remember, the husband is the only person who is competent to divorce the wife. If the family members of her husband divorce her, well, her husband is away, means in the absence of the wife, in the absence of husband, in case if the family members divorce her, he must call her back. But if the husband does not call her back, she is taken as divorce on mark. Another thing is abandonment of family. If a man abandons his family and if that has been accepted as such by a court, his house, property, and children shall go to his wife, who will receive the marriage price of the female children, performing all the duties of father when they marry. If the husband returns after 3 years, the wife can refuse to take him back, and in such case, she is entitled to have the house, the property, and the children of her husband. Abandonment implies to turn away from and also to stop taking care of his wife. The next is section 56, Kongkasulamak, literally meaning a divorce in order to marry another wife, in which the old wife goes out the door as the new wife comes in. In a divorce of this kind, the divorced wife can have 1/3 of the household produce, called bubal, meaning that the properties of the family can be shared, can be obtained by the wife as much as 1/3 of the property. Now we read adultery. This adultery is in fact considered till date as the most serious wrong that can be committed by a person. But in the olden days, and as per these customary laws, this adultery is committed by a woman only. To have sexual intercourse for a married woman with another man is considered as adultery. A woman who commits adultery must return all her marriage price and shall forfeit all her dowry and properties. If she commits fornication after 3 months of the death of her husband, she shall not return her marriage price, whether she is disabled or not. If, however, she commits fornication while staying in her late husband's house, the balance of her marriage price shall not be paid. If she has children, her children or the family members of her late husband can turn her out of their house if they dislike her, but she is entitled to keep her dowry. If her children has no hesitation to allow her to remain with them, the balance of her marriage price shall not be paid. Meaning that actually, yes, Avira is clear enough from the definitions given here. After the death of her husband, she is supposed to be remain faithful within a period of 3 months, at least 3 months. And the next thing is fatibal Loman. Fatibal Loman. Fine for defining the unborn child. If a pregnant wife is divorced and commits sexual intercourse after that with a man other than her divorced husband, she is liable to pay a fine of ₹50. Is it clear? If a pregnant wife is divorced, after divorce, if she commits sexual intercourse with another man, not the divorced husband, she is liable to pay a fine of ₹50. And if a pregnant wife commits adultery, she must be fined of ₹50 in addition to the usual punishment of the adulteress. And the child, when after born, will belong to the father. But if he does not like to have him, if the father refuses the child belongs to the mother. In case of a girl conceiving an illegitimate child, the same custom applies for the same offense, and she is liable to pay a fine of ₹40. And the next thing is loiter, committing sexual intercourse with a married woman by pretending to be her husband. This is also actually not common these days. If a man commits sexual intercourse with a married woman by pretending to be her husband, he must pay a fine of ₹100 to the family of the woman. If her husband does not like to keep her any longer as his wife, the man who commits the offense must refund all her marriage price to her husband. Actually, this particular provision must be common in the olden days, because in the olden days, among the Mizo society, there is no light, there is no power supply, there is no proper light in the at night, and most of the husband who were actually not old in age were also staying, and were also lodging, were also sleeping in a place which we call Zolbo. And after that, maybe in the midnight, the husband often returned to the marriage home, to her own home, and then sleep with the wife. And that time, it is often misused among the societies. And in case a person leaves, a person come back, a person went to the wife of another husband, and pretending that he must be the husband of such person, and there must be a fine of ₹100. Actually, this is very costly. And 667, noted touching of women's breast by a man. This is also already there in the provision. Actually, nowadays we have IPC, and under IPC there are different provisions, especially section 354 IPC. It talks about different kinds of sexual harassment. Actually, the touching of a woman's breast by a man. Now, to touch an unmarried woman's breast is an offense and is punishable with a fine of ₹20. It's very costly. And the next thing is Mino Nutere, touching of a married woman's breast. This is punishable with a fine of ₹50, which shall be received by the family of the woman. And section 69, one fenzar. What fenzar? The point is to spread out publicly a woman's folded skirt. One fen poi kan. If a person takes up and spread out publicly a woman's skirt, she has folded up is punishable with a fine which makes them rupees 20. It's a pon fen. Chataka feng lai han pot hak sake mo han keo saktut ang chite publicly. Kaka fine of the gani. Kan pan lai akan kan pile pute huna kan michiete. They also no kunvenene. Section 70 rise up concealing of pregnancy. If a woman who is already pregnant marries a man other than the man to whom her pregnancy is due, without telling him her condition, and if her husband afterwards discovers her pregnancy, he can turn her out and claim back all the marriage price that has been paid. And section 71 talks about Lalnunsiama. Trying to sleep with a woman by night who was not already one before. This is punishable with a fine which may extend to rupees 50. Mani nulanilo. Mani nulanilo. What is remote ka? Mo mani nulanilo. Lo. Zen and P2 Mizo to country here. My ome. 72 talks about Minu claim attempt to seduce a married woman. If a man entices a married woman with a view to induce her to commit adultery with him, and if the woman discloses it and makes a complaint against him, he is punishable with a fine of rupees 50. The punishment is also very severe. In fact, Mani bulbal incest. According to Mizo custom, no fine is inflicted for incest, but it is regarded as the most shameful thing. If incest takes place, it is believed by the forefathers that the village crops for a year will fail, and as it is also believed to cause a drought, all the villagers used to pour water upon both of them. Okay, I think it's very clear enough. Incest is very serious, and they took it seriously. And section 77 again talks about the people in well. The guest of honor tonight also pointed out this provision. The people in well, beating of wife by the husband. Normally, beating of a wife by her husband does not amount to an offense. Okay, it doesn't amount to an offense. But if the beaten wife takes refuge in another man's house, and if the husband seizes her up to the house of other man's house, the owner of that house is at liberty to use force on the pursuing husband, and no offense is committed even if the owner of the house causes bleeding or some other injury on the said husband. And now, to sum up, actually not only sum up, this is inheritance of property. In the inheritance of, now coming to this inheritance of property, normally the wife, it is also already pointed out by the guest of honor, the wife has no right to inherit the property left by the husband, as per the customary law. But as per section 109 subsection 8 of the Mizo customary law, daughters can inherit the property, but it must be only in the absence of sons. If there is no sons, the daughter may have a right to inherit the property, but the wife has no right to inherit the property. Yes, the things which I pointed out says that the status of women in the Mizo society and the, under the customary law is not satisfied with. Actually, not only satisfied with, it was very bad. And as a result of the crying needs, and due to the endless efforts rendered by several groups, several activities, including the guest of honor tonight, the Mizo Marriage, Divorce and Inheritance of Property Act 2014 was coming into force, and which in fact provided useful provisions for the marriage, divorce and inheritance of property among the Mizos. And under this new Act 2014, in case of divorce, the wife has several share over the acquired property depending upon the nature of the divorce. But apart from that, in case of inheritance of properties, the wife or the daughters, to some extent, has the rights to inherit the right to inherit properties left by the husband or the father, head of family. Actually, it is worthy to mention that the new Act 2014 provides better share for women in case of divorce and inheritance of family property. Despite being not satisfactory, the same is in fact a milestone for bringing better status of women in the Mizo society. And there may be the question which is keeping our mind, that after the enactment of 2014 Act, whether the customary law still prevails. That may be the question. It is my answer that yes, the customary law is still prevail, but in the sphere, in the aspect of marriage, divorce, and inheritance of property, wherein the Act 2014 provides the provision, the customary law will remain silent, and in the rest of the provisions, the customary law may revive. That is my answer to the question. And to that, I conclude my speech tonight. And I have no suggestions for the topic for discussions as each the time passes. And now I to hand over the program to my to the host tonight, Madam Professor Lalnunsiama. Thank you so much. You were not audible. Please unmute. Madam, you are not audible. Please unmute. Madam, please unmute.
There is a technical problem now. It is all right. Yeah, thank you so much, Mr. Lalnunsiama. Such a very informative and then really educative also, since we have the Mizo Marriage, Divorce and Inheritance of Property Act, then such actually brought good change, positive change, towards better status of women in the Mizo society. But still then, many more things are actually to be taken care on that such a particular issue also. So I should not actually say many things since we have, many participants, not only in this group, because we have made, live streaming YouTube also. Through that live streaming YouTube, many have actually joined and watched our program, including our Honorable Vice Chancellor, Mizoram University also. We keep, chatting through the WhatsApp. So he has also appreciated so much and convey his best wishes to the chief guest of honor, even the speaker, then the participants also. So I shall hand over to Dr. Janet Vanlal-Limpui if she is okay. Then beforehand, she has a technical problem. Then if she doesn't have any technical problem, then she will be actually taking care of the Q&A. Then mostly the Q&A that has been actually put here might not be utilized, but the chat box may be utilized by us. And at the same time, I think, some of the participants may also share, but if you would like to share and express and then raise clarification and points and all, We may not be able to give you a good time. That would be actually taken care by the organizing secretary, Dr. Janet Van Limpui also. But before we really close down, after this, I mean, the Mizo Marriage, Divorce and Inheritance Act 2014. So I think, I mean, from academic point of view also, we should really take up as a very important issue of this aspect, so that we have, I mean, academic contribution, so that the amendment may also be made over this particular enactment also. So beforehand, we do not have such a particular enactment regarding for the rights and privileges of women in the Mizoram state. So after having this only, that we have, well, the Hindu community, even the Muslim community, they could have many enactments, I mean, for the rights and privileges, I mean, maybe in the marriage or in the divorce or inheritance issues and all. But among the Mizo, we did not have for many, many years, and then until now, even though we have this enactment, but there are some loopholes and weaknesses also that can also be amended. But we, the women, even the Mizo society, should also, I mean, give a thought and take it as, I mean, sincerely and seriously, because it is not the issue of women alone. It is the issue of the family. It is the issue of the society. It is the issue of the husband. It is the issue of the father. It is the issue of the grandfather. It is the issue of the brother. It is the issue of the son. So it is like this. So that's why we should not just leave it, I mean, in the hands of the women alone of this particular important issue also. This is what I want to give, I mean, a comment on that. Then rest, I shouldn't take, I mean, much time, and then I will hand it over to Dr. Janet if I would like to share then, or I mean, come into, and I may also be permitted with due permission of the, I mean, Dr. Janet Van Limpui. So over to you, Janet. Thank you so much. I mean, Mr. Patea, thank you so much.
Thank you, ma'am. Now, if anybody has any questions relating to the presentations or would like to address questions to maybe the guest of honor, I think we should open that for the moment. You can just unmute yourself if you want to ask questions.
Oh, excuse me, sorry, Dr. Janet. Vijaya Lakshmi, it seems you have, I mean, some queries. So Vijaya Lakshmi, Barbara.
Ma'am, some of the questions that she had raised have been answered. So I just checked the chat. So they have been answered. I think with regard to what is MHEP, it is a Mizo Page Institute Compol is basically an association of all the Mizo women. It's a federation of Mizo women. And yeah, this one is just a statement that she has made, and one before this is in with regard to the presentation of Mr. Lalnunsiama. One before, one of the kami slide pakatami kanita. Maybe it's not. I don't know if you can explain, elaborate some more. I think that would be better. Pate kalai. Customary law life kata one before it ilaika kalaika is like a kashito telo kalaya kan kalaita kaka shado ni karing.
One before, actually, in fact, that laws about this one before, its provision might be. Can you kindly explain a bit more, Mr. Vijay Lakshmi Brara, regarding this one before? Because in fact, that law is about how to comment, how to react.
No, first of all, I'm very disturbed, frankly speaking, today, because we used to have this very blanket imaging of, customary laws of Mizos. But today, thanks to you, both the speakers, that I've come to know so much in detail. What was going through my mind when I was listening to Madam Sankhumi was that, we keep talking about the suffragette movement in the, 19th century in the Europe, women demanding voting rights. But what I'm seeing here, and what her life experience, she narrated just now, it's 100 times more struggle than the suffragette movement of the European, which is so publicized, and so it is as if taken as a benchmark for feminist movements. I think it's high time we started taking women like you as and the movement which you have raised as benchmarks for feminist movements in Northeast India, particularly, and India generally, and the world over. So I am so enlightened today, but equally I'm disturbed by the second speaker's, this whole notion of the basis of customary law, morality, sustenance. I don't know, I'm forgetting all the others. Not a single law which was, narrated by you had any morality. Wife beating justified, and see, the thing is, I as a non-Mizo, I don't want to be paternalistic. But as a woman, I'm whatever I'm speaking today is I'm speaking as a woman, not Mizo, Punjabi, Mani. I'm not speaking on that like, but as a woman's self-pride, it's time and again being slashed by Mizo customary laws. And what is most disturbing is that in the present day modern Mizo society, when all of you have converted into Christianity, here again, as you, ma'am, told us that, it is taken as God's will, So what modernity has, so what my question today to both the speakers is, now that Mizoram has opened to the world, now we cannot say that it is living in microcosm, not knowing what is happening around the world because of internet, social media, so many things, communication links and all that. So in today's modern, this whole, definitely there has to be some influence of the outside world, So in this modern age, do you see any changes happening right now among the young Mizo women, or among the young generation? Are they still questioning, or are they still taking as God's will because the church is ordaining them? So that's my question.
In fact, yes, the trend is improving day by day. So actually, yes, there are different aspects like economic aspect, political aspect, and social aspect also, apart from political. And in some aspect, the status of women is uplifting. Not only uplifting, it is fastly growing. But in some sphere like political and religious, the status of women still needs to uplift. So in fact, yes, if the time permits in the sense that time goes by, there must be chance of having better scope by the women in the sphere like political and religious also. And in religious circle, one of the religious denomination, Baptist, and they have a very good provisions for upliftment of the Mizo, the women. So actually, yes, there's still miles ahead, but actually the time is improving, in my opinion.
I'm sorry, but in what I've seen in Manipur, the Baptist churches are in fact very regressive towards women. So I don't know what progression on Baptist churches you ask. Can you specify what progressive elements in Baptist churches enabling women to be more empowered?
The thing is that in ordained minister, the Baptist church, the denomination in Mizoram, they have the ordained minister among the women. That's not practiced in most of the denominations, other denominations. So that is what I have said. Actually, that is very interesting one. And the biggest denomination, the largest denominations, Presbyterian Church, we are still not having the ordained minister among the women.
Sorry, I'm the only one speaking, but one last question. So if you think that in Baptist Church they are becoming ministers, are they interpreting Bible in a different manner and negating the fact that submission of women in the family is actually God's will, as ma'am told us? Are they interpreting Bible in a different manner?
Actually, I'm not under the denomination of Baptist, so I have no not much comment in this regard. I'm so sorry for that.
May I?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We would like to hear you.
PB Sangkhumi may also like to attempt that. See, they are not interpreting in different way. Yeah, we all are actually believing in the teaching of the Bible, of course, but the Presbyterian Church, which is the largest denomination having the largest number of members, is the leading church. They are not allowing women to be ordained pastor, to become ordained, church elder, deacons. So they said, the authority said that the time has not yet come. So it seems a time has come for the, Baptist Church. It was in 2012 when we advocated strongly for the seat reservation, and seat reservation was made in the Mizoram Municipalities Act, and then the village council and the local council. Then during that time, it was actually approved after the third attempt by this Dr. Reverend R.L. Nooni, who become a reverend now. She was ordained along with her student. She had been for 2 terms as a principal of the Christian College Academy of Integrated Christian College Baptist Church, located in Aizawl. So, after many attempts, and finally her application was, considered. Then she was tested. Then she was actually given approval. Then finally ordained by the church in the assembly. So that one was the achievement. Then after her ordination, not even a single female has been ordained till now. It was in 2012. So she was so much qualified, but in terms of all the corners, in terms of all aspects, she was very qualified. Then only she was given. So she trains many pastors, they become a pastor, and then under the leadership of her own, ex-students, pastors and all, and then she had to submit her application. It was very heartening, frankly speaking, but it was the God's will. Then finally it has come, her term has come. So apart from that, anyway, this Baptist church, they have a church, ordained upas, that is deacons, church elder, but they are some few. So then outside the church, the church of Mizoram, like in USA and all, many church has ordained, even the Mizo community, Mizo lady has been ordained as a church, pastor. So, but within the state of Mizoram, we have not yet. But so as I had already mentioned that things are improving slowly and slowly, but many miles are to be covered to reach the acceptable level. So that is what I would like to share. And if Sangkhumi can also share some few things, then she may also take her turn if we do permission of our moderator, please.
Yeah, I think Sangkhumi has something to say on that.
Customary law 仲爭執卡，跟隨啱啲話， Hemi Pastor.
Ma'am, can you say in English because
Okay.
Vijay Lakshmi ma'am is there.
In the beginning, I did not to mention about ordination because as a subject appears to be mostly on customary law. Anyway, it's a good thing that this ordination was also is also included in our discussion. Yes, this is one of the main reasons why I joined MHEP, as I told before. This ordination, we fought so much, and in the General Assembly of MHEP, we used to pass resolutions after assembly and assemblies, and we used to submit applications for ordinations on the basis of our resolutions, but nothing could happen. At last, Dr. R.L. Nooney was ordained. But to be frank, after her ordination, I'm the one who handed over a citation to her. But one day, while I was coming back from Delhi in the morning, she came along and she told me that even though she was ordained as a pastor, in her absence and in the absence of the many authorities, the assembly passed that retirement age for women was also made different from the rest of the pastors. Like this, they are trying to make some differences in spite of the ordinations. And as Professor Nezowi pointed out, she is the only one till today who has been ordained as a pastor. So we have come to learn that the church is one of the strongest, I should say, foundations of patriarchal problems we have in Mizoram. This ordination of pastors for pastors is most difficult, but women can be elected as church elder who will be ordained afterwards. But in Presbyterian Church, no one ever elects a woman to be a church elder. That means we women restrain ourselves. We dare not to exercise our rights. We are electing church elders, but we women themselves dare not to elect women church elders. This is the exact situation here in the church and in the Mizo society. That's why we still have to go a long way to have a proper upliftment of women. I'm not saying about empowerment of women. We are not able to empower, and we have to empower women. And before that, we have to uplift by ourselves. We have to uplift ourselves. That is what is in my mind. If we dare not to uplift ourselves, who will uplift us? Who will empower us? So we women have to do ourselves, to uplift ourselves and to empower ourselves, so that we'll be able to be empowered in the whole community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Anybody would like to ask any more questions from the participants? It's a little bit late now. Problem. The lights just went off, but just switched on the hotspot. This is what's been happening for a week or so in Mizoram. The lights are going on and off, and connectivity is
Dr. Janet, you are not audible. Maybe she also has a problem. Are you coming back? Yes, she has come back, but you are not audible. You have muted yourself. Please unmute.
To switch it off. Yes,
Okay.
yes, I unmuted myself. I think you know what the situation in Mizoram is, that we are very much a patriarchal society, and the church is a very dominant factor, is a dominant force in the society, and it is a very patriarchal institute. And I think that is the reason why, you know, if you come to Mizoram, people from outside Mizoram, and they see numerous women, they're working in the market or in the offices. Also, you would see lots of them. But when it actually comes to the real decision-making power, it steeps. So there's a lot of problem in the sense that because of the patriarchal society that we have. And besides that, empowerment is always about gaining confidence. And I think in terms of the Mizo women, we are not yet confident to come out in that arena. Maybe the time has not yet come. Maybe let's be positive and say that the time will come in a very near future, when we have, pastors or the church elders being ordained women. And definitely there'll come a time when we break the glass ceiling. And I think anybody would like to have a small comment, or before we close up, I'll just open that for a few.
Madam, can I have one question?
Please, yes, please.
Can I have one question, Madam?
Yes, yes.
I want to hear the comments of our resource person on one of the section of Mizo Marriage, Divorce and Inheritance of Property Act. In section 9 of the Act, it was provided that a man cannot enter into a marriage with any of the persons. The rules or practice of the religious dominations of which he is a member prohibits. And like that, a woman cannot also enter into a marriage with any of the persons, the rule or practice of the religious denomination of which she is a member prohibits. So it seems that I cannot marry the girl I love unless my denomination does not permit me. So in this regard, I want to hear the opinion of our resource person, and I also want to ask that why this kind of provisions have been included in the Act? Is there any reason behind this provision?
Yes, it's clear. It's clear. May I straight away? May I come forward, Madam Coordinator, Madam Host?
Please answer.
Okay. Yes, that is very good question. But the thing is that under this Act 2014, okay, I'm sorry. That's very good question. Under this 2014 Act, the role of church is very important. So in marriage also, unless the marriage is solemnized by the recognized pastor, the recognized license officer, it's deemed to be invalid. Like that, in case, let me give some illustrations. If right now I'm a married person and I divorce my wife, so I am under the Presbyterian Church. In order to get, in order to have, in order to remarry another lady, I have to wait for some moment to obtain the remarriage certificate, RCRL, remarriage license, remarriage certificate. Unless and until I get that certificate, I am in fact prohibited by the church from remarry. So that too is also recognized by this Act. That is the provision. Tutuna Sezok Kanita, Tiludanga, Koshana Palalak Lampang Nilavin, Koshan Danina Apwar, and we pasal ne telo, Antiang Chite, Kang and Jiho Ka Asrina, and is okay. You kind of feel my
Afia Maya can you can zone a come you RL RC Lampang Haron Ziak leto Silawa Alandana Hachuan denomination in a Palo Hachuan Nupui pasal ne telo ka ang Maya detail to near.
Only.
Yeah.
All right. In the Mizo society is such that for for our participants who are outside Mizoram, who are outside of the Mizo society, we do things in such a manner that we follow the practices of the teachings of Jesus Christ Christianity, and also we take into consideration the Mizo customary laws also. So sometimes there's a lot of conflict. So and therefore the questions that was raised by Mr. Mizo Thankuma, because if a person gets a divorce, the church does not allow him or her to get married for a certain period of time unless the church issues a remarriage license. So that is what the question was about. And Mr. Mizo Thankum also pointed out that it is not written there in the customary law, and therefore the question was raised. So the church, as I've said, is a very dominant force in the Mizo society, and we also deal with the laws, certain laws that are practiced as a Christian, and also the customary laws. Now, as I've said, the Mizo society is a very patriarchal society, and we're trying to break that bit by bit, and maybe in another 20, 30 years from now, maybe we'll see more women in the theological field or in other fields which have not been ventured out by women, and which is considered to be a male-dominated, sphere. So, any other questions? Anybody would like to ask any other questions, or any comments before we close this question and answer round?
May I share the moderator? Yeah. Am I audible? Okay. You are not audible, but it seems I'm audible. So what Mizo Thankuma has pointed out is that, among the church also, that Trinity, Mizo with due permission of our friend who doesn't speak Mizo, Trinity can he at soitilam kashalawa Christian Marriage Act te po ka kan soi tam lem lo wa ta ton tu ma yanin hemi denomination in anglo in nei pol tepo hi akok ve em ka hretia lo khalai takha ka lo ngai to ngai lo wa kami pung le chang bi ka kha Trinity in ang hi chu kanin pom thapa pa le fa pa le tharau thiang lim in ne ya hian kanin pom thapa ma se pa le fa pa le tharau thiang lim mang lo kha chu impact kher ngai ni te khanin englo Presbyterian hi chuanin kan nei in ka sia am hemi baptisma kan nei anga te po hianin chung te po chu akok em ti lai po chu ka hret thiam chia lawa pu pa te khan a hriat chian de lek zok ka ringa khalai taka kha chu ke po ina enge ni kalo ti wak lo thin ania a chu indu leng comment nga indu leng comment lo nga kha chu ngai kher chuang lo khalai te kha ke ma po zo na aron zowan ron zo ta ka chuan zo na karon nei chu ani ve tel pakhata atem ker po ngai chuang lo wa engpo ni se alom ome. Then over to you, Dr. Janet, and then I would also like to request you to propose a vote of thanks, and then after this session is over, I mean this very interaction session is over, then you would be proposing even a vote of thanks. Thank you.
Tuna mi kha trong kam khan na kin kan lo sei tel be den kha mi kha kha chu ni chira mi kha example ta la ko tek ni ne tuna mi na ron sei chu tuna madam ne zawi na ron sei ang kha khang po ka hom vet tu ra ngai chu ani ko shanin kal phung kan ne ya ko shan in nei na akha he da ni na ngai poi mu me mani ya chuna ya chuan kan ko shanina hi chu ai ne na hi kan song bol thei lo bang kan in native thelavang anti ani kha chuan mo kha religious practice religious rules ina a phallo ang chi kha chu arem changlo tinani and very recently Madam B. Sankhumi is also presented there when the Mizoram State Commission for Women organized a workshop regarding this 2014 Act in the Aizawl Club. The role of church was also questioned, and the Central OMS suggested that the activities, the roles of church must be minimized, must be lessened. And there are many persons who are actually not following the church, who are not following the religion. They may want to marry with certain guys, certain ladies, certain boys, so they may have certain problems if the involvement of church is given priority. So they question these activities of the church. Actually, yes, it's under consideration whether the amendment may make a change or not. We may see someday. Anyway, yes, as on date, the activities, the role of the church is very important under this 2014 Act. In case of marriage, in case of divorce, not divorce, in case of this section 9, the provision is that if the practices, if the rules of the church or the denominations protects a person from marrying with another person, the two is also prohibited by the Act itself. That is the thing. Thank you.
All right. So we've been having this webinar for like two hours or so. So I think it's a very fruitful webinar. And I think we can go on and on and on, but all good things must come to an end. So before we close this program, like all, all programs that we do, we always close with a vote of thanks. So at this moment, I would like to thank the chairperson of Mizoram Commission for Women, Mrs. Lalnunsiama, for sharing her thoughts on the webinar tonight, and also to Madam B. Sangkhumi, Padma Shri Awardee, who has been instrumental in bringing changes to the laws, in bringing changes to women, in bringing changes to the Mizo Women Federation. And we hope that she will continue in this fight. And I would just like to mention here that she is also, one of the first women to be the chairman of the Mizoram Public Service Commission, and she's also from the academic field. And it's very nice of you, ma'am, to share this platform. And of course, our speaker tonight, Mr. Lalnunsiama, and it's kind of nice, to have somebody from the other side, that is from the male's perspective, talking about women customary law and on. So, and a very enlightening presentation that you had given this evening. And the participants, of course, without doubt, any program cannot be a success without participants. And we would like to thank all the participants for bearing with us for 2 hours for this webinar. And behind the success of any program, of this program, also there are a lot of people to thank for. We have our Honorary Director, Women's Studies Center, for bringing out this program. She has been very active in the cause of Mizo women's fight for empowerment, for gaining confidence, and also to the Vice Chancellor of Mizoram University, and also to the Principal of Govt Aizawl West College for making it possible to use this Zoom platform, and the head of the department, Ms. Kaylel Monpui, and the other faculty members of the Department of Public Administration, Govt Aizawl West College. And I must, at this point of time, thank Mr. Zodin Sang Asilo, who is a faculty of the Department of Education in Govt Aizawl West College, because without him, any activity that the college, that is Govt Aizawl West College, undertakes cannot materialize, because it is he who is the guiding background, who gives the support, the technical support to all these type of programs. And it is because of him that this webinar has been a success. And we, at the last but not the least, would like to thank God for making this webinar a success and for making this webinar possible. Thank you, everyone, and have a very good night.
Thank you so much, Vijaya. Oh, she has gone. Alom ome kan lom nu tuke in mang chapot mayang u in ha to ang. Oh, thank you so much.
Nang thau.
Oh, mang
Thau le.
Thau le.